Whereas Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 1 consisted of 4 crackerjack episodes that combine the biggest action sequences the show has ever done with a strong emotional through line, the second volume of the show's final season struggles badly to hit those same levels of effectiveness. Releasing today on Netflix, Volume 2 consists of 3 episodes, all clocking in at a bit over an hour, that pick up after Episode 4's explosive ending and take us up to the series finale, which releases on New Year's Eve. Once again, there's a lot in the way of plot details that Netflix won't let reviewers talk about, but there's an unfortunate amount of wheel spinning and backsliding in these 3 episodes, which can't match Volume 1 in either epic reveals or dramatic stakes. Watching Will get superpowers 4 weeks ago was electrifying. Seeing him immediately nerfed and reset back to Will's gotta suffer mode once again is deflating. Episodes don't end in big revelations so much as they cut off right before the expected happens. And while the show could have benefited by taking a breath and refocusing on smaller character moments after the fierce intensity of Volume 1, the installments releasing today are instead stuffed with endless exposition and world expansion as the show careens toward its finale like a runaway train. Between the goodwill the show has earned through this point and a handful of scenes that are able to tap into what made Stranger Things a pop culture juggernaut, Volume 2 is ultimately able to skate by. But after one stronger batch of episodes and one weaker batch, it's fair to say that the legacy of this final season will hinge greatly on the quality of its very last episode. Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 2 is an exhausting watch. The second grouping of Season 5 episodes picks up immediately after Volume 1 ended. Everyone's thrilled that Will's a literal sorcerer now, although his powers come with a catch. He can only access them when he's connected to the hive mind. That immediately triggers a series of plans to go after Vecna, and the show barely gives its characters a moment to regroup before it's ratcheting the stakes back up to endgame status. Across the 3 episodes, the show will track Steve, Dustin, Nancy, and Jonathan as they venture through the upside-down version of Hawkins' lab, Max and Holly as they continue their quest to escape the dreamscape of Vecna's mind, and Mike, Elle, Will, and the rest as they try to solve the ultimate mystery of the Upside Down and formulate a plan to save Hawkins and the rest of the world for good. By the end of Episode 7, viewers will know exactly what the Upside Down is, what the government's plans for Eleven and the back-in-play Kali are, and, essentially, how everything in the Stranger Things universe fits together. For those who've been paying really close attention, perusing Reddit theories about the show, and/or have watched the Stranger Things The First Shadow stage play, the answers to those riddles will likely be met with a shrug. And even if you haven't been doing those things, there's nothing here that recontextualizes the previous seasons in such a stark way that the series gets any kind of charge from it. Speaking of the stage play, it's safe to credit its existence as a demerit at this point. While the little flashback to it in Volume 1 could be waved away as a fun Easter egg for those who've been able to catch a performance in London or New York, there's a similar scene in Volume 2 that's going to be frustratingly obtuse for anyone who's not familiar with the play's story. Count me as a firm believer that spin-offs in an entirely different medium should not feel like required viewing to fully appreciate the TV show in front of you. More than anything else, watching these 3 episodes ends up feeling like an exhausting but incomplete experience. They will maybe work better when you're binging all 8 episodes together a year from now in a rewatch, but as the middle child in a 3-volume release plan, Volume 2 is overly dependent on what came before and what comes next, and fails to offer up a satisfying narrative on its own terms within these 3+ hours. Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 2 is saved by several performances. You may note I'm still giving this batch of episodes a passing grade, and there are a couple of good reasons for that. For one, Matarazzo continues to do his series' best work as Dustin, and the emotional beats he's able to hit as he continues to grapple with losing Eddie while facing the potential loss of even more of his friends, land fully and completely. There's a scene with him and Kiri that is played so perfectly, I had to rewind it so I could rewatch it through dry eyes. Also doing strong work in these 3 episodes are Maya Hawke, who continues her campaign to make Robin the Season 5 MVP.
Schnapp, who elevates Will even as the scripts are doing him a bit dirty, and Dyer, who effectively imbues Nancy with a fierce yet vulnerable independence as she makes a decision that will change the course of her life. I also think it's fair to say that Cara Blano, who real ones have long considered one of the show's most underappreciated assets as Karen Wheeler, has completely shredded that underrated tag this season. Mrs. Wheeler rules. And of course, the show still looks big and epic and phantasmagorical as Netflix dumps however many millions of dollars into these final episodes, during which you'll bounce around various realities, find out what happens when someone fires a shotgun at exotic matter, and see Hawkins Lab turn to goo. It'd be tough to say the Duffers aren't throwing everything they have left at the screen, and some individual action sequences still manage to thrill.
The Duffer Brothers may have gone too big in Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 2.
But the show's ballooning scope is also part of the problem. You'll notice that I haven't mentioned Hopper, who's kind of just around, or talked much about Mike, who fared better in Volume 1 during a rewatch than I originally gave him credit for, but who really isn't given much to do in these episodes. Even Eleven doesn't feel as central as she should at this point. It's highly possible that the scope of this show has gotten too wide for its own good. Instead of really honing in on the core group of characters we fell in love with, Season 5, Volume 2 makes time to work Mr. Clark, the kid's AV club teacher, back into the mix in a big way, gives Brett Gelman's Murray too many laugh lines, and continues to service new and expanded characters like Holly, Derek, and Robin's girlfriend, Vicky. Combine that with the fact that the Duffers are still, at this late stage, finding ways to cram in new influences and reference points, and it all just becomes too much. I yearned for the simplicity of a good snowball dance, people. Maybe the finale, in between or after all the telekinetic throwdowns and world-saving battles, will spend a little bit of time getting us back to that. I pray that's the case, because Volume 2 spends a lot of time being loud and dizzying while failing to provide a cathartic ending like the one that capped Volume 1, and it's all in service of an episode that won't arrive for another week. Let's hope that one makes the crescendoing chaos of these middle episodes worthwhile.